Hey, what's up guys? My name is Chris and today we're going to do a review on this Ridgid sliding miter saw. To start off, Ridgid and Home Depot did not pay me to do this review. They did send me the tool under the understanding that I would do a YouTube honest review on it. They're not telling me to say anything positive or negative. They have not given me any instruction whatsoever. So this is just going to be my honest review. This has taken me a few months to get out here because I had a little bit of a break from being in the shop, just family, life, work, all that going on. But I have put it through its paces. I've tried it on some rough projects and some finer projects, and I think I got a pretty good understanding of what this saw is capable of. Really, my alarm is going off on my phone in the middle of this. I'm sorry. All right, sorry about the delay there. Had laundry to do. So I'm going to run you through some of the features on this saw, some of the likes, dislikes, because there's definitely a little bit of both. But I think it's all about managing your expectations for a saw like this, and depending on what you're going to build, whether you're doing more carpentry or whether you're doing more fine cabinets, box making, any kind of furniture making. It really depends on that and maybe even your skill level. So let's run through some of the cool features, and then we'll just kind of go through what I like and dislike from there. All right, let's get to it. Now, I think we can all agree that the first really cool feature of this saw is this arm back here. So basically it makes it to where you can push this. Of course, I have my dust collection hose back here, so I can't get back all the way, but I can push this all the way flat against the wall, and then I can even lock it to where it doesn't go back or what do you say? Go back and forthy. Yeah, that. It doesn't do that thing. It'll stay stationary. So I gotta watch the trigger. It is plugged in. So it makes it to where if you're just doing quick little cuts, you don't have to jack around with it or anything. And then put it away. Got a little tab there. So that I'll zoom in on that real quick. So right back here, you can kind of see this is the blade guard here. So you'd pull this back like that, flip it up, and it will come towards you. And then if you want it all the way back, make little shortcuts, or if you need it a little bit more blade exposed, you can do like that. Pretty simple. Now I can say so far I'm very happy with this feature here. I've never had a sliding saw before, so to get that extra capacity has been a really amazing addition to my shop, just with breaking down wider boards and all that. So, all right, so now that we're on this side of the saw, let's take a look at this. So up top, you got a little switch here. That's a little light. Seems kind of handy, right? But it's a little bit more than just a light. So before you run the saw, you can actually, pull it down to a line, and you can actually see right where the teeth are going to go. It's a really cool feature. If you're a little faster, maybe you're cutting things on the fly. I'm not going to cut. I don't have my eyes and ears on. But you get down, and you can get down pretty close. Me personally, I would always take it, and I would actually set a tooth on my line. So it's a really cool feature, and if that's something that you'd be interested in, it's a really cool feature, but it's not something I necessarily need or want. And of course my shop is so well lit, it's not like I need that extra 10 watts of light. But still, and it's a neat feature. I think a lot of people like it. So this next feature that the saw has, I think is really going to polarize a lot of people because of some saw brands have come out with such unique ways of holding down material that this really isn't going to break anything. It's not going to, really break the internet. I do like it because it is just, relies on friction on the back side there. And it makes it to where, you can just pop it up, set it down, and you're in. It's pretty quick. I mean, I just lift it over, set it down, it's in. So there are definitely some cooler, sexier ways to do this. But 90% of the time, obviously keeping my hand away from the blade, I'm bringing it down and I'm cutting. I'm not needing that. If I have a board that's hanging way off one end or whatever, absolutely a cool feature that you need to keep. Don't throw this away. Speaking of throwing things away, that leads me to my next feature. of sorts. Okay, so dust collection on miter saws is just a thorn in everybody's side. It doesn't seem like too many companies can get it perfect. Theirs is okay. So let me lean this back. So you got a little bit of a dust chute here, just a little rubber flap. You know, I think if it went around a little bit more, I think some guys on YouTube have addressed this, which maybe I'll look them up and do it myself. I've noticed that with plywood, you get a lot because it's just all dust in there. It just flies everywhere. If you go a little bit slower, it does pretty good. And I have a 5-horse shop vac hooked to this, so it's not for lack of suction. So I just take it really slow, and you can literally see most of the stuff goes in the back. If you're that worried about it, wear a mask. Let's set this down. One problem I have with it is with all of the movement here, this hose gets caught on everything. That could be me. Maybe I need to get a hose that's a little bit smoother. But I have screwed in this set screw, and this has popped off on me a couple times. Again, maybe something I'm doing wrong, but I feel like it should be pretty dummy proof. And that I'm still having a couple issues with it. So that is an ongoing thing. It's okay. It could be better, but you know, obviously if you want like the ultimate, you're gonna have to spend way more money than what you would on this, which I would, you know, consider the whole setup a mid-level, not entry, not supreme, mid-level setup. I think everybody would kind of agree with that this is not, if you're wanting to build the finest furniture and everything else, there's, you know, a better saw out there. But let's face it, not all of us can afford that one. This is an excellent option. Still, I'd say my complaint is medium with this because I think it's with most saws in this category. So we're on this side of the saw. Let's move on to the next feature. And this is an interesting one because it's one that kind of gets under my skin. All right, so one thing among many, I really liked the slider feature on this whenever I got this saw because I'd never had it before. Another feature I'd never had before was a trenching feature. I actually didn't even know this had it when I first opened up the box, but then I found it. It's a little tab here. So right now, going down, it goes all the way down. You flip this over, and this little screw right here that you can adjust stops it. So it will, you know, basically stop at a certain depth. Flip this off, and then you can kind of go back and forth just like this and trench out. Which, let me show you the piece that I tested on so you can kind of get an idea in case you don't know what I'm talking about. So right here, you'll see a couple pieces of plywood. And this one here, you can see it's been trenched out right here. And I literally just, you know, held this piece on here, held a square up to it so it was a good straight line, drew 2 lines, and I just cut down to it, and you can see, you know, it's not super tight. I could have done a better job, but that was just me just rushing to see if it worked. Problem being, I actually started with something like this. So it's a really interesting feature, not necessarily for fine woodworking, because it's not super smooth down here, but the blade only goes so far. You know, you can't go back any further than that unless you were to drop the blade all the way down. So it made it to where I could trench all the way down, and then at the very back, let me lift this up and show you a little closer. So you can see, hopefully, you can see it kind of bellies up right there, and that's the edge of the blade. So it only cut here and didn't cut all the way through. So I had to leave some excess on the back and then just cut it off. That way I didn't have to worry about that, and I could just set this all the way in. Another thing too, which this just goes along with, you know, it's not for fine furniture. You can see it's pretty jacked up there. Maybe not as bad on this side. So I would have to credit that to when you drop this down, you have some flexibility there. So what I would do is, if I were going to set this again, I would push down, set it, and that way I know that every time I come down, my furthest is going to hit, and then maybe it'd be a little more predictable. But again, this is more for, maybe more for carpentry than furniture making. And, it's a cool feature. I might use it, I may not, but it's cool to have it. But you just have to know what you're getting into. You have to know the limitations of your machine. Another thing with this saw is, I believe if I bring this down, oh, I gotta remove this. There we go. Put the blade away. You can see right here, pressing on the blade, you can see the whole thing has just a little movement in it. Now, that's not terrible. I think it was Spenceley Design. If you look up his review, he showed, multiple cuts going back and forth. And it kind of had the same problem. Again, this is more of a roughing tool for me. This is more for breaking down material, or, if it's not as crucial of a cut, it might be just fine. But it does have a little bit of there. But I think every saw in this category will have that. I mean, there are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of opportunities for it to have some flex. So when you have 20 pieces all flex millimeters, it ends up being several millimeters by the time you get to the end of it. And I think that's something that I can be okay with. All right, I think this is the last feature. Oh, by the way, my hose already popped off from collapsing it there. Again, just something to keep in mind. I'll fix that in a moment. One thing I have not used on this saw, and I probably will not use on this saw, is this really cool feature here. Flip up this little handle, and then you flip back this one, which has one on both sides, and you can go to there. And I think once you hit this, it locks it in, and then detents there. So I think... there we go. Heavy saw. Okay, so if you leave these on, it detents. So if you want to go back to 0, click it before you get 0. Right there. Lock it in, and you're good to go. Again, this is more for people doing like compound angles, crown molding, stuff like that. Cool feature, not one that I will be using, so it's kind of hard for me to review that because I'm not really going to put it through its correct paces. Alright, so that concludes my review of the Ridgid 10-inch sliding compound miter saw with the articulating arm. Overall, very happy with it. Very happy to have this type of saw in my shop. Has a couple features that, I may or may not use. The ones that I'm complaining about, I wouldn't even consider them a complaint. I would just say that they're less than perfect. They're probably not going to be anything I use personally, but I just want to let you know, in case you have super high expectations, just to manage. But if you are looking for a saw that's a fine saw, get absolute perfect 90s every time, perfect dust collection, you may want to consider making a sled for your table saw. But for roughing down stuff, doing simple tasks, simple cuts in the shop, excellent saw, has a lot of capacity. And then they have a 12-inch version too, a little more than what I needed for my shop, but you may need something like that for yours. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys watching this. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go get yourself a new saw. Cunningham Woodwork approved. Enjoy. All right, thanks. I will see you guys later. Bye.